Hi, and welcome to Lights of the Roundtable. My name is Susanna, and today we're going to be discussing about targeted individuals. What is it? And to talk about this subject, I have Desiree Foley and Michael Hughes. Now, Desiree is the director of PACS, which is People Against Covert Torture and Surveillance International. And apparently, there's a lot of individuals out there, common people that don't even know that they're being surveilled. And Michael has an incredible story that he was just mentioning. I guess his experience started 20 years ago. But before we get with his story, Desiree, thank you very much for coming. What is PACS and what is, I guess, a targeted individual? What is the definition? Is there one?
Yeah, Susanna, first I want to say that I'm the assistant director. I don't want to take that light from the actual director. So as much as I would like to say.
Forgive me. If you forgive me. Go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. I just wanted to clarify that. So there's targeted individual is somebody that does believe that they're being targeted by an entity. It doesn't necessarily have to be the government. It could be like a university. It can be medical centers. It could be a satanic cult. It could be so many different entities, not just the government. It usually starts with gang stalking, break into the house, you're being followed, all your technology is being like hacked, and then the break-ins and that's how it usually starts. And then all of a sudden you start to like notice that you're hearing like ringing in your ears, and you can actually tell when the vibration of the room changes. You start to hear voices, and you start to have where you're having like dream simulations, and you're able to actually close your eyes, and you can see visions like movies being played in the mind's eye. So that is what a targeted individual. Michael, did you want to add to that?
No, that's a pretty good start. It's just that there's a lot of us, and it's right in line with like what Yuval Noah Harari and Elon Musk are talking about, like how AI knows you better than yourself. But there's a lot of Americans that are already suffering through some kind of forced neural interface.
Now, I guess my question is, why you? Why anybody? Is there a criteria that fits their bill?
Well, I've always used to ask that, like, why me? Why me? And one person told me, why not you? Okay. And the reason why, this is my own personal opinion because I don't have the answers, but if I had to say my opinion, it would be the reason why I was targeted was because I'm a nobody. Nobody's going to believe me. I don't have money to fight back. I don't have the resources to get this information out. Nobody's going to believe me. So I would be the perfect person to experiment on. It's not because I'm special. It's because they find me unspecial. So that would be the reason that I think, but I don't know if that's what Michael thinks.
So
yeah, people,
go ahead, Michael.
Free thinkers, vulnerable people, people that are isolated easily. Anybody who is easy to isolate. It's not hard to whip up another supercomputer to kind of focus in on that person.
So incredible. Amanda, I didn't introduce you, forgive me, but Amanda is here with us because she did an incredible documentary concerning specifically this, targeted individuals. And both of the guests tonight are within her documentary. Amanda, what led you to create a documentary on this subject?
Well, taking on the UFO and disclosure movement, I went out to an event to film that because I had experiences and met Desiree Foley there, and we became good friends, and she got me an understanding of this technology. And so I ended up going out to where she lived and filming her and getting the rundown on this very dangerous technology. And then in my January so I did a beautiful documentary with her explaining in depth what her story was. And you can watch that on strippedclean.net or amandajoanofheart.com. It's under the Truth or Content page. Also, right underneath of that is a documentary from January 6th at our Capitol. And that's where I ran into Michael. And he explained the subvocal internet and how China is targeting their people, and a whole different perspective on targeted individuals and gang stalking that I wasn't aware of either. So
Yeah.
I would love to know more of Michael's story, but he's very, very educated in this as well.
So I wanted to ask you, Michael, what made you believe that you were targeted? And do targeted individuals have to carry some sort of chip? I mean, how do you know that you're targeted?
Well, there is different categories. They all kind of seem like advanced MK Ultras, and some of us have the V2K voice to skull. And I mean, I found videos, and there's in China, even NTD News did a spot on a whistleblower in China that was trying to get justice, and because of that, he started hearing like voices in his head, and it usually starts with tinnitus or something like that. For me, there was like a gradual phase. I grew up on the computer all the time. My bachelor's was in computers. I was trying to be a programmer. I just did IT for years, and at the same time, I was, maybe it's where you live. Like I was in an area that had a gas refinery, Chevron petroleum refinery in El Segundo, California. And we'd wake up every night and there's this black soot on everything. And, a lot of people have some proof that the chemtrails have barium and other metals, aluminum. There's metals in the chemtrails. And I don't know why there was 100 food factory fires last year, but there was. And, there's videos of them destroying the baby formula. So I don't know, maybe they're putting stuff in the food. There's talk about the graphene oxide. These are like nano antennas that shred the heart of athletes, but it's little like nano antennas to get inside the brain. And but it seems like the targeted individuals were like the first beta. We're like the first guinea pigs, where it really seems like almost the whole population is getting scared at this point. Like 10 years ago we had Occupy Wall Street, and now we have like TikTok and like Transmania, but nobody talks about the children that got shot in that church. It's divide and conquer is not new, but it just seems strange that like in France you have strong protests, and in many other European countries, like the West is basically getting flushed down the toilet at this point, and you see strong protests, but not really in America. Everything is still about like January 6th, like 2 years ago at least. Like, so what are we doing now? Nothing. I don't understand really the magnitude of mind control that seems to be over everybody.
Well, isn't there a big push for 5G artificial intelligence, and what impact that may have on targeted individuals or in all of us, I guess.
Yeah, Yuval Noah Harari and Elon Musk, they both said that AI knows you better than yourself. And, Harari said COVID is when we embraced under the skin surveillance. And Elon Musk said, if you so choose, you can kind of let the AI drive. So, 10 years ago, I was avoiding apps that were intrusive, like Pandora. And, because I learned as an IT guy that Pandora was recording everywhere you go every day, all year long. What happens if they're able to peek inside your mind and they're able to record your inner dialogue without you knowing, or God forbid, even look through your eyes? What if they're able to record that and day after day, year after year? Now, like supercomputers and data mining, that is the field of machine learning or AI, if you call it. Like, I don't think it's so. I think it's mostly about very large data sets and very fast computers, and to be able to look at all the days and years of somebody's inner thinking. I think that's what we're actually facing with Chat GPT, and the whole internet is a giant surveillance machine. That's why it was made, and there's more of us going into it than we're being told.
Now, Desiree, how many people do you think your organization knows that are being targeted in a yearly manner? Do you have that sort of census?
That kind of data.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot. I mean, they have done surveys, and the number that they had said was a lot. We don't have an actual number. A lot of times that people call in, a lot of people call our organization and they put their name in the database. And I would say, if I had to give a number, I would say at least, I would say like 10,000 people that know about it. And then I'm sure there's a lot of people that just think they have schizophrenic. And also, I just wanted to add too that the schizophrenic does exist. I'm not saying that it doesn't, but there's a lot of people that I know that may be experiencing something and got diagnosed. And even though they take medication, it doesn't go away because it's technology. You can't take a pill and have, and the technology go away. But that's something that I would definitely look into. I know that we constantly try to get that information, but I don't have it on the top of my head.
Yeah, I find it interesting that that you stated when you started what are target individuals and how they're targeted. You stated that it doesn't have to be government. I thought it would be government or a science group, and that's even scarier. So what I heard also, what are pharma cartels? Are we talking about the pharmaceuticals having control?
Yes,
it's through the nanotechnology, I guess, right? As a bioweapon? Well, we just see that, right? With COVID, it's one big example, right?
Right. Yeah, okay, so let me kind of explain how I got this information. So I do work with some doctors, and I have a doctor who is a toxicologist, and you probably know who she is. I can't really say her name, but you know who she is. But I work with a toxicologist that is an expert on nanotechnology. So how she she tells you to basically send in a follicle of your hair, and then she tested it, and then she can tell from 3 months back what they're giving you. And she said that it's a formula that they're giving you that makes self-assembly semiconductors. So you don't necessarily have to have somebody come and operate on, give you a chip. It doesn't work like that anymore. They actually have it where it can build itself in the body with nanotechnology, and it's a formula. Once she finds and says, hey, okay, you have the nano in you, I'm going to send you over to this person, because there's several person that does the scans. And then when they do the scans in the body, they're able to capture the frequency that your body is emitting. And once they capture that frequency, they're able to find out who owns the license to that frequency and tell you exactly who's doing this to you. So it doesn't, a lot of the times the TI's frequencies come out from medical centers, universities, and it's mostly universities, because I don't know if you know this, but the CIA, when they did their experiments, it was from the university. So it's still going on today. It's just more advanced.
Wow. Speechless to hear that. So how is the MK Ultra involved in all of this too? I mean, I thought they were one of the first pioneers in this subject matter. Michael, or you?
Yeah, Michael, you want to answer that?
Yeah. So the CIA being intelligence agency, I'm not sure why you kind of have to talk about, if you have to talk about the rest of the world, the rest of the human condition. because the CIA did 75 coups d'etats in second and third world countries over these past decades. And so it's hard to speak. And I mean, everything is kind of theory, but I'm not actually sure how to answer the question more specifically than just, it's not a stable situation. It's completely unstable to have 80% of humanity poor. So they're, whatever they lust for is to just mind control us and get in and see what we're thinking and control what we view as reality.
So, Michael, when did you start having issues? When did you realize that you thought you were having, or you were targeted?
I think that there was in 2011, I was working at West Point. I was in an IT department of the hospital, and I was assigned by the doctor to go to an ear, nose, and throat doctor. And I was there for a different reason. And at the end, he said, I want to look up your nose, and the camera's going to turn around, and I'm going to look at your breathway, and I'm going to see if you need to go for a sleep study. And when he put the camera up there, it pierced me. It pierced me to the point of making my eyes water. And I looked at him with anger, and he made an excuse that it needed to turn around. So somewhere in this time, I think like around 2013 or 14, I got like my dream job as a junior programmer. I was close to the beach. I was riding my bike. I was healthy. I was swimming. I had done volunteer firefighter. And now I have a voice that was like starting to answer my questions, starting to assist me with like programming questions. But at that point, it was not 24/7 V2K. It was like more at the subtle level. It was occasional, once a week, once a month. And the tragedy for me is, I've been a spiritual person my whole life, and I've read the Bible and Hindu scriptures and Buddhist scriptures. And I have been hearing almost like a false voice of God on almost now today. It's like a daily thing that I have to just kind of deal with.
Desiree, you get phone calls from people all over the world. I was amazed at some of the recommendations you had listed on your website. And one of the things about patients' rights, not to talk, not to call police, not to tell your family members that you're suffering from this, because they can put you right into a psychiatric ward. I mean, when I started reading, I'm going, holy smokes, what can an individual do? I mean, is it that repressed? I cannot believe psychiatric ward just without, it's the saddest thing. Can you sort of expand in how your organization helps out individuals who are desperate to seek some sort of relief and answer?
Yeah, we do. Well, we do a lot of networking. We try to tell the TIs that, it's better to talk to other TIs in kind of like lean on each other, and not to like involve your family members, or because the family members, they really think that there's something going wrong, and they think that they're helping by either, what is it, 5150, where the police come and they take you against your will, and the parents are actually thinking that they're helping if it's a child or a loved one. So we have a lot of networking. I mean, we have a conference line that meets twice a week, where we have like open mic where we can go on there and we just talk and we exchange ideas. And then the board meets once a week, and we're constantly trying to expose this. And that's all that organization is doing, is different ways and different tactics on trying to, explain to the world what our government is doing, and that they are experimenting on humans without their consent. So that's what our organization is about, is just trying to expose this in any way we can.
Michael, when you were going through all of this, did you have a place to go to and talk to people?
No, not really.
So did you ever share?
I mean, I didn't find out about the targeting until after I went through a really hard time, and I started to learn about that there's other people having this voice to skull. You know, there's a lot of good conference calls of many, not just Americans, people all over the world get on these conference calls, and you know, you take in a lot of stories and you start putting it all together. You know, for example, Dr. John Hall wrote the book Guinea Pigs, Technologies of Control, and he did a lot of good research. In one of the chapters in the 80s, 5 prisoners in Utah all penned affidavits saying that they were put in solitary and could hear a voice in their head that was responding to their thoughts. And then fast forward to the 90s, and in the Gulf War, it's like a known fact that the voice of God weapon, it has a name, it's called the voice of God weapon, was tested in Iraq. It was tested in the Gulf War under Bush. And so it's hard to, there's such a stigma to say like, oh, this person's hearing a voice. You get an immediate reaction, or tinfoil hat. But the funny thing is, you see more and more patriotic, conservatives saying like, "Hey, I'll just go ahead and put on the tinfoil hat at this point." You know, it's like after everything we've seen, how many of us are ready to put on a tinfoil hat? Mm-hmm. If we want to save this republic, we might have to.
Yeah, Amanda, I remember that you and I went to the Virginia Reawaken event, and even there, an event happened. Do you recall that?
An event happened?
Yeah. Remember, we were there and people were complaining that they felt they were being targeted through a beam. They could feel the heat. You don't recall that?
Oh, I didn't catch that, but you know what? There were cell towers, and that's what I was going to bring up. There were cell towers right on that building that we were in. Remember? Huge, massive cell towers. And I couldn't even believe they would have an event with a bunch of cell towers on the building when they should know better. But, but yeah, I mean, if you look at the NASA War Plan documents, it says that they're going to hack into our brains through the cell towers with the nanotechnology that they're going to spray on us that we're breathing in the air. And then now we got, the Lucifer E's and the vaccines and all the nanotechnology in the vaccines. And so where does it end? We got aero dust they're spraying on us, smart dust they're spraying us, made by DARPA. So,
yeah. So
I mean, if you were talking about how many people are, she said 10,000 easily, it's all of us. We're all under this bio warfare.
Well, I thought we are under surveillance anyways through Patriotic Act backing from Obama with a stupid thing that he said wasn't it 3% or 3 degrees or 6 degrees? Remember doing the math? Well, I told my hubby, he's a mathematician, and he did the math in 5 minutes, and he says, that's the whole population of the United States. And I said, there you go. It's a twisted way of announcing something that, to the media. It says, oh, we're just going to surveil 3% of the population. It was worded in a way, and it just didn't make sense. So, yeah. So Desiree, what does your group do, and how do you make yourselves voiced out? Because, this is not the first time I hear about, I'm relatively new. But I would say that for the last 5 years, since Trump, is when I started to hear expressions like, brain invaders and surveilled and targeted individuals. Before that, I guess I didn't know because I didn't pay attention to that kind of news. You have to actually look for it, I guess. But
So Brain Invaders is the Jesse Ventura. Is that what
Jesse
you're talking
Ventura,
about?
yeah.
Yeah, I saw that one too. I saw it when I first, figured out I was a TI. I saw that. I thought that was amazing.
yeah,
I have it on my channel there. I
Yeah, do you
re-uploaded
know
it
it's
to my
banned
BitChute.
to watch on YouTube in the United States? You can't find it on YouTube. They banned it.
Right. Sure, it's a copyright. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, our group is just more just like I said before, like networking. And we all get together, and I can say this, like all the different people that I've met and come in that I've learned when I met all these new people, all these targeted individuals, that everyone had this very unique story, and it's always usually the same kind of story. But I learned a lot from them, just knowing that what I know from my own experiences, and then asking them questions and say, what happens when you do this? Or we kind of like experiment with each other to figure out, how can we get to the bottom of this? And one thing that I like to say on all the videos that I come on, because it's very important, is like, how can you tell the difference from a spirit guide or for a godly voice, or if it's technology? One thing that I always like to tell people is that when you're a targeted individual and you hear a voice, it kind of like sounds like it's coming from the other side of the wall, or like if it's like somebody's like talking, like in the next room, but it's usually them talking about you. I tell the people, I ask a lot of questions. This is how I find out if they're really being targeted, or if you just have some, I guess being schizophrenic, is I ask them, does the voices get louder when you hear a fan or running water? And if they don't know, then I say, well, I need you to go find out. And I said, and also, what happens when you plug your ears? Does the voices go away, or what happens? Well, the correct answer to those would be the voices get louder if there's an air conditioning, because it bounces off a sound. So if you're running water or an air conditioner or a fan, the voices will get louder. But if you were to plug your ears, and all of a sudden you'll hear the voices are actually inside your forehead, that are coming inside their head. It's not even coming from outside that side of you. Did you want to add to that, Michael? Because I know that I don't get V2K anymore. The only time I get it is when I'm trying to fall asleep, and then I hear them trying to talk to me, but I don't hear it during the day anymore.
Well, the thing you said is very accurate, that it carries on sound. It could even be rain on the ground, because that's not a frequency, right? The pitter patter of rain. But it could be like definitely loud, like refrigerator, which gives off a strong magnetic field as well, by the way. All the compressors, the air conditioning, but even just anything humming around you, it's like a carrier, and it's in that. And I think one way to describe the V2K is that it's almost like stealing your thoughts and reading it back to you, and trying to do it faster than you can think your own thoughts. Like, it's, for me, that's been a frequent experience. And I do have a patent that I was kind of wanted to read this. This is U.S. patent 3951134, 3951134, and I have a little quote from here. And this specific thing I'm about to read was referenced by Dr. Richard Lighthouse in an Ella-free interview that was deleted off YouTube three times when he discussed a 1970s patent that they could look through the pilot's eyes. And they're always looking for the way to sell it. The intelligence state, the surveillance state, has this stuff going on, and they're looking for how to sell it. So in the 70s, they were looking through pilot's eyes, and he said that it relied on an interference between the left and right hemisphere of the brain. So for me, I get amazing relief by wearing a simple baseball cap with some copper sheet from Hobby Lobby, for example, and a couple layers of Linkstat. And I actually have to close one eye. And between closing one eye and wearing a simple hat with copper and links that I can literally, when you're in the like when there's office politics being like somehow you're being targeted, like the people in the room are feeling like uncomfortable, and then they're looking at you and they're thinking that it's you. If you just like close one eye with this hat on, it will actually stop. You can actually stop it in its tracks. And that's why a lot of TIs are very paranoid and tired and fatigued from being attacked from inside the mind, which our brain is meant for external stimulation, not internal. And a lot of people get, especially in the cities, they're just so overwhelmed, and they know something's wrong, and you can't tell them otherwise, but they get hard to understand. So anyway, I diverged, which was something else I want to say, but here's the quote from the patent. Is about mixing an interference pattern between the left and right hemisphere of the brain. The transmitted 100 and 210 megahertz, that's FM radio, 100 and 210 megahertz signal components mix within the tissue in the brain and interfere with one another, yielding a signal of a frequency of 110 megahertz. The difference in frequencies of the two incident components modulated by electromagnetic emissions from the brain, i.e., your brainwave activity, modulated by the electromagnetic emissions from the brain, i.e., your brainwave activity being monitored. This modulated 110 megahertz signal is radiated into space. So here we have the exact patent that tells you how they might possibly look through your eyes or get an upload from your brain with low power. Everything in service frequencies, cell tower, cell phones, routers, Wi-Fi, FM, AM, it's all designed to flood your body. And once your body's flooded with radio waves, it starts sloughing it off. It's overflowing. And when your body overflows with radio light, then the theory of relativity comes into effect. And the motion of your body, your brain waves, your heart, is on that light. That's all that we know about astronomy. We study the light and we make all these inferences. Well, guess what? They've been staring at us much more than the stars.
Okay, Michael, let me ask you a question. And I'm not a technical person. Doesn't my body need to have carry that particular frequency in order for my body to be able to be that kind of receptor, antenna? I don't know what. Are you following me?
Your question is saying, I think your question is, are you around those frequencies? Are you around AM, FM, Wi-Fi, cell phone? And the question is, are there devices around us that can pick up that 110, for example, the third frequencies? Are there devices around us from China that are built with secret simple chips that pick up the 110 megahertz frequencies? And I'm sure there's more of them.
Okay, so it's nothing to do with your body. I'm trying to understand a little bit. So it has nothing to do with the frequency my body has as a human being. You're saying that any of the equipment around me, near me, can pick up those frequencies and they not become a carrier?
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'll wait. Yeah, I'll wait.
Okay. So every human being has their own unique brain frequency. We all have a different brain frequency that we admit. If they were able to data mine your brain and were able to get that brain frequencies, they can lock into you. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, they would have to know what frequency, because there are people that don't have all the frequencies, and that's why we have. Okay. All right. So how do they mine?
So there's more than one layer to this. You
Okay.
guys are targeting the frequencies of your biometric signals, right? Or
Mhm.
perhaps their ability to like entrain or induce a similar yet slightly modulated your own brainwave frequencies, from last year being replayed on you with slight adjustments. That's like I'm kind of expanding there, but what I'm talking about is the frequencies that are the carrier. It's just I'm just that patent is describing like everyday FM radio fills your
Mhm.
body, and then your body overflows and gives off. And you have to think of radio as light, and that's the only way to think of it. It's like light flooding. Like let's say a light bulb that's green, and you take a flashlight and you shine the light bulb is not on, but you shine a flashlight right up to it, like right up close. That green glows, and then you have like a camera that is recording that green and looking for vibrations or something like that.
Mhm. You know, Desiree, I didn't ask your story because I know that you are the assistant director to PAX, but apparently you have quite a unique story yourself. Would you mind telling us a little bit? Because
Yeah, I'll tell you a
thank
little
you.
bit. Yeah, because yeah, it's a pretty long story, but I'll try to, here. Okay. So, I guess you can say, I mean, like I do this where I talk to a lot of targeted individuals because I'm still, searching and trying to find one or somebody that has a similar story like I do. I am the targeted individual because I got all the tests done. I know the semiconductors in my body, and not to mention how many times they've come into my house. They would put me to sleep. They were doing God knows what to my body, the stalking, but it all stemmed from a divorce. Was going through a divorce. My ex happened to be working in the aerospace company, contracted by the Department of Defense, and he was in charge of the military sector. So what happens, I get, he pretty much told me that I had no idea what he was capable of. I don't have any proof. I'm assuming, I'm pretty sure it's him, but I can't say I'm 100% positive. There's so many different possibilities. But it started happening when things got a little rocky. And that's when I started noticing that, it was being followed and, all this like weirdness going on. And I would say it started off like a poltergeist. That's what it felt like. It was crucifixes flying off my wall. There was the lights were flickering, and the obviously there was like sounds on the phone. There was almost like there was some negativity presence along with everything was happening. It was almost like there was a negative attached to everything that was happening to me. I thought in the beginning, I thought it was some type of satanic cult that was doing it to me because of all of the I was getting a lot of messages from like people from like that had like demon names, and they were like saying, I want your effing soul, or they would like send me videos and talk about me. And this was like it was like harassment. It was just constant harassment, had me in fear, and I'm scared, and all this stuff is like, oh my God, these people are crazy. They're gonna hurt me. I got sensitized to the number 666. I'm on like whispering, like so no one can hear me say that. I got sensitized to all of those numbers, and I really thought it had something to do with it. But then I started to realize too, when I am going through all of this trauma, I was being traumatized. And then I started to believe that they were trying to like look into like some other dimension, and that they were using me by having all this torture because all of this like stuff was happening around me. I don't know if Michael, if you've experienced this, but I did, is that when all this was happening to me, it was almost like they were giving me like superhuman abilities where I was able to close my eyes and still see with my mind as if my eyes were still open. I was also able to see through walls, but not like how I can see like you right now. I was able to see through walls, like it was black and gray, and then people would have like an energy color to them. So I didn't like actually see with the eyes. It was almost like I was seeing into another dimension, but everything was still in front of me. And my empath abilities were like, oh my gosh, like I can't even explain how empathic I became. And of course, back then I'm thinking it's a gift from God. And, I wish it was a gift from God. It was them giving me these abilities. They were tampering with something in the brain that activated these abilities. And I still like trying to find other targeted individuals that have the same similar story, that I like to like exchange stories. But mine, like I said, was like it was a little bit more different. It was more like messed around with, trying to like see into another dimension. And then I would, granted, they could have just made me believe all this. I was seeing portals. I was seeing the shadow beings. They would come in the room, the shadow beings. I also saw light beings too, made of light, where they would come in the room. There was just so much stuff going on until finally the mind cracked. And then that's when that happened to me, my ex got custody of my daughter, and then my targeting stopped for 3 years. It just went away. And so you have to like think about it, like how can somebody go through something like that and then lose their children, and then it just goes away. It went away for 3 years. And it's back now. It's back, but it's a little bit different. What I'm experiencing now is more of like dream simulations. And what is happening is they're trying to make me believe that I'm, part of the secret space program, which I know I'm not. And I think that may be happening to a lot of people in the community, in the UFO community, because what is happening to me is, I fall asleep and all of a sudden I'm off on another planet, working with these hybrids or something. It's just like these very sci-fi dreams. And then, so that's what I'm experiencing. So I think that they put me into some other program that focuses on dreams. So it's almost like, their dream study, where they put me in there, and not only are they having me do stuff like that, they put me through tests, and I'm like with a bunch of children, and then they have these mind tests, and then they ask me these questions, and then they have me analyze the dream inside of a dream, so I can go into very great detail of what the dream simulations are. And I also want to add about dream simulations, because not a lot of people know about them, but I can tell you, how can you tell when you're in a dream simulation? They get the characters wrong. What they do is they send you this whole simulation of a scenario or some kind of storyline, and they put it into your mind to play out. And what happens is your mind fills those characters with, because your subconscious fills those characters in to be like your cousin or your aunt or somebody that you know. And then sometimes when the character talks, they speak with a different voice, like a voice of someone else. And that's how you can tell that you're in a dream simulation, is they get the characters wrong. So I just like to tell everybody that too, because I, putting a lot of time in. And I talked to, Dr. Duncan. He's the one that was telling me about how you can tell the difference between a real dream and a simulation. But that's my story. There's so much to it, but yeah, that's basically it.
I agree. Like I have been getting it also, much less, but I find, because they always wake me up like 3 to 4 in the morning. It's just every night. I don't know. It feels like they're trying to interrupt REM sleep, but a lot of times I wake up and I feel like I've been talking to somebody, and it's weird. And then I saw an article, like in France, there was some scientists, in the neurosciences, which is a huge field that's like exploding, they're able to get information from people in their sleep. Basically, they can basically chit chat, like, you're on the chat, like they can just chit chat to your brain while you're sleeping now. It's not like that hard for them to do that, apparently.
Yeah, I wanted to say something too. I was just talking to a friend earlier. Okay, so this just happened last night. Like obviously I'm just an experiment. Obviously, they don't really give a shit about what's really going on. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cuss, but they really don't care what's going on in my life, but they are experimenting on me so that they can use this technology on their real victims. So what happened in my dream last night is I was sitting down at a desk and this police officer walks up to me and says, you wrote a bad check and it bounced. And then I told the cop, I said, that's not true. I have X amount of dollars in my bank. So I told them truthfully how much I have in my bank account, and they were able to get that information for me. And not only that, I told them where I banked. And then I woke up this morning, I said, well, there you go. It's just like that movie Inception, where they put you in these scenarios to get information from you, because the subconscious mind does not have a filter, or you're not able to lie. The subconscious doesn't lie. It's always very truthful. And that's something that I also found out too, because when they do question me, they're questioning the subconscious. I don't remember everything. I only remember the last question, but I know that it's me answering them. I always answer truthfully.
So how does one protect themselves? Is there a way? I was thinking of grounding. Michael, I was going to say, can you ground yourself? You know how there's this ideology that you can actually put a little wire, ground yourself to the ground, and you'll be grounded.
Yeah, no,
I don't know. Maybe it's a silly idea.
I ground every night. Yeah.
And they still wake you up.
Yeah. I mean, but I think that my targeting would be a lot worse right now if I wasn't grounding. I'm just going to describe what I have, just kind of more quick. So I found out that in humanitarian crises, they use the water bottle cases as like an X-ray booth. They can build like a temporary one. So that's what my head, when I'm laying down, my head is covered by the water bottle cases. And that helps a lot. And then I mean, people buy the earthing.com has expensive grounding sheets. There's cheaper ones on eBay, like $30, $40 grounding sheets. But I went and got an 8-foot grounding rod, like a lightning rod for the house. And I put it in the ground for me. And I took thick subwoofer speaker wire, and it's dedicated to me. And I have 2 wires. One's for like some shielding. I have some conductive fabric in the area that is grounded, but one line is just for my body. And I recently switched to like a copper sheet. And if you have your 2 legs on the copper sheet, and then I'm covering the eyes are vulnerable too. They seem to really want to pulse modulate things on your eyes. So I always have to put like a copper or the clay pack for the hot compress, cold or hot compress. They have clay, like a moist dirt, and that one is good for the eyes also. And then I have the stacks of water bottles cover me up. And I took all the metal out from the bed area, because metal around you I noticed I'll get more visuals. If I have more, like I had nickel copper fabric, which is great. Like if you wrap your head in it, you'll sleep really well for like 2 days, but then you'll start getting more visuals as it's like every day they're like, the shielding always has to move around too. Like they're always calculating how to penetrate with certain resonance frequencies, or something like that. It always seems to be getting in.
Michael, is it the military experimenting with you?
Yeah, I mean, it's just people that the intelligence agency can get away with, like suspects, or I had security clearance for work. Desiree had her husband, so of course she too was part of the security clearance. So they work with parallels, and but there's a lot of people that are, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but why do they keep calling like conservative people like a threat to the country and terrorists? Is it so they can like do more of these mind control stuff to them?
Yeah, but this is not consensual. This is a non-consensual agreement. I mean, this is one thing is to be part of an experiment under military, but once you leave, and how can it be consensual if it isn't? It just, I guess it's mind blowing, and at the same time, it's sad because I know that they don't even respect the Constitution or anything. I mean, the government is free to do whatever, and we're just guinea pigs. Um, how do you see this, Desiree? Is there an end to these kind of programs and targeting individuals like this?
I've only known, well, I don't know personally, but I've known a few people to get out of the program, but they were given a gag order, and you can't talk to them anymore. They were able to sue the entities that were targeting them, because they went through all the tests and stuff with the doctors and everything, and they won a lot of money, and then they were given a gag order and they can't talk about it. But other than that, like, it's very rare to meet people that say that their targeting is completely gone, because I think that once you're targeted, they have to watch you for the rest of your life to make sure that you're not getting close to expose it. I do see a light at the end of the tunnel. We have some things going on in our organization that we're working on, but I hope and pray, and I believe that that's the reason why I'm here on earth is because I was going to come to fight this. I really believe that. I think a lot of us that are experienced this, that are going through this, came here because we put ourselves in the situation. I don't know how spiritual you are, but I'm very a spiritual person, so I do believe that this was a choice, that I came here to experience this and to try to help and to expose it.
Can you talk about those kind of programs that can you shine light to what programs are there that may put an end to this kind of madness?
Oh, I'm sorry. You cut out there for a second. What did you say?
No, can you shine a little bit of light to kind of programs that might end this kind of madness?
It's just the public needs to know. If everybody, first of all, when you say this to the public, they don't believe it. We watch so many movies that basically trained our minds or programmed our minds not to believe that any of this exists. So that's why they have all those movies out there like Inception and, The Matrix and, all these like movies that make you and program you and make you believe that none of this stuff exists when it really does. So the moment that you say mind control or chips or even aliens or anything like that, the human mind is programmed to be you're crazy. So if everybody knew and believed it, and I know that sometimes that when you do speak to the public, you can say different terminology and not use those words. And it's more, somebody is more willing to take that information. Like if I were to say non-consensual human experimentation, somebody is more willing to listen than say, yeah, mind control or MK Ultra. Right away, they'll just dismiss it if you say it that way. We do have some things going on, but until the American public knows, or even the government comes on and like they did with the CIA mind control experiments and says, yeah, we did this, and publicly say it, I really don't believe that anyone's going to believe us. What do you think, Michael?
May I?
Yeah. Go ahead, Amanda.
I'm sorry. I mean, we got the Lucifer-E's in the vaccine, and if you look at another patent number on the lights that they're putting up and down the streets, those lights patent to hook into Lucifer-E's in your body from the vaccine. So, that's proof right there, in my opinion. And the other patent number that, he just discussed, proof again, you know what I mean? So, and if you look at the NASA war plan documents, again, they're going to hack into our brains through nanotechnology and graphene oxide that they're spraying on us. So
yeah,
how much more proof do we need?
Yeah.
I yield. Jeez.
No, I'm just jumping on because that's a great point. Like divide and conquer is really old. I mean, it's centuries and centuries old, but there's a lot of patriotic conservative people that they're ready, like they're very ready to see that we're being mind controlled, we're being influenced, we're being very illegally search and seizure, even like under the skin surveillance. And you have Yuval Noah Harari the World Economic Forum and Davos, they're trying to find a way to crack this egg and expose people. Facebook was taught for years, they were paying a lot of money to make a phone that could type directly from your thoughts. There's video, and don't ask me why, and they withdrew. Facebook stopped that program because, just like Elon Musk, I mean, Facebook was making a phone that you could type from your mind, 100 words a minute, right? Elon Musk is pushing that, and Regina Dugan and Mark Zuckerberg. There's videos, and go to Davos, and they're talking about, you can see the guilty smirk on their face when they talk about like deciphering inner speech. You know, and then you have you're opening up a whole closet of, you know, possible abuses if you can decipher internal speech. Where there's so many videos right now on the world elite, they're trying to get people to accept this stuff, this very thing that we're discussing at the consumer level. We're the guinea pigs. Everyone's already under the influence, but there's the next step is getting transhumanism and the consumer level. And I think that there are people, a lot of people could see it. I think the problem is that I know there's a lot of people with good intentions on all sides, like let's say in American society, but a lot of the radio hosts and stuff, I think they need to step up and start being leaders of peaceful protest. I think that's, the whole world is like waiting, like, what are we going to do at this point? The great reset, people, you know. And another thing, I'm just going to jump in on the spiritual, is the first book of Enoch. It's pretty amazing that like there's this whole story in there in the first book of Enoch that you have Christ and you have the pre-flood world was full of like violence and high technology and these angel human hybrids, the heroes and legends of old that you see in every religion on earth has these star people, or the Native Americans had like the cloud eaters, these giant cannibals and stuff. And there's definitely a hybrid system. This technology is a hybrid with evil spirits. So it seems like a lot of the TIs go through this dark night of the soul where it's like really hard, and it even has a spiritual aspect to it. I can definitely relate with what Desiree was saying earlier.
Well, it's quite an interesting story. It's quite an interesting. I hate to, you know, I feel sorry for you guys living. I just couldn't believe what. I mean, I guess you both are blessed for not shooting your head. You're blown out your brains, because I could not imagine. Especially you, Michael. Before we even pressed the record button, you said that you were doing this. Something happened to you, and you were already experiencing this at the vulnerable age of 2021. And it's amazing that you made it this far. At that age, I think that one would have blown their head off at some point. It's remarkable to have you both here. And I hope that we find some relief and answers soon. I'm hoping that the Harari movement, that the Harari synopsis, Elon, WEF, I'm hoping that all of that has been flipped, I hope, so we can revert and heal ourselves, both in body and soul, because I think that's the only way to move forward on the world that is sometimes feeling more and more chaotic and warped. So thank you. Thank you, everybody. Go ahead, Amanda.
And that's their goal, is to get you to commit suicide. Correct, Desiree?
Well, yeah, that's what a lot of people do say, that would be their goal. I guess it would be, I mean, a lot of people do think about that, but I don't think that was their goal for me now. Maybe it was in the beginning to see how far they can push me. But as you know, my boyfriend killed himself. And the reason why I met him was, you know, he was a TI also. So he killed himself in 2016, and he shot himself in the head.
His was very extreme from what, you know, her story shares compared to yours. But I mean, yours was ridiculously extreme, Desiree. I don't know how made it through some of that stuff. It was some intense targeting, gang stalking. Or,
Yeah,
So-
I couldn't imagine anybody going through this. So I thank you very much both for being here. And perhaps we can continue this conversation with others. And so is there, besides your group packs, where else can somebody find some relief and comfort and be secure on speaking to the right people?
I think there's a few nonprofits that you can just Google, like targeted individuals. I would just highly recommend to reach out to our nonprofit, but there's other ones too. I just don't know them on top of my head. Do you know them, Michael? Were they Targeted Justice? Something?
Yeah, I only know that targetedmassachusetts.com has a good list of conference call numbers. I know PAX is on there. It's a little bit older. I think there's like new ones like coming out, like DJ Chris or Targeted West. Honestly, I haven't had my head in the conference calls as much lately. So yeah, there's definitely more out. There's a lot of CIs out there that are getting together and talking on these conference calls to get strength because knowing really is half the battle. No matter how deep they're trying to get or hack you, if you know in your spirit it's not going to work, and you have like friends to sounding board, to share with, it's half the battle is won already.
Well, Michael, we hope that you make it through. Hopefully there will be soon an end to all this madness, and you'll be able to, both of you, perhaps be able to enjoy life to the fullest, finally with some peace and in mind, right?
Mm.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming on board, and we'll see you again. Bye, Michael.
Thank you so much. God bless. Bye.
No problem. God bless.
Bye-bye.
Bye.